Sitting in the airplane here today, making me think about another modification I'd like to do. Again, this is to the, not the seats this time, but it's to the doors, or specifically the windows and window frames. It's cool to sit here like you're driving a pickup truck with your arm out the window and cruising along getting air. But what I've discovered since flying this thing now for several years is that my vision is restricted peripherally. So the big problem is I'm tall, I've got the seats set back, but even still, especially when these windows are closed, my eyes are being cut off by the window frame. So I can't see the bottom of my wing. I can see out this way and a little bit out that way, but I'm constantly having to bend down in order to see all the way out, and I don't like it. I'm thinking that if I take this entire window frame out, because you go indoors on a hot day and you're on the ground, which is where it's always the hottest, if you want to get cooled off, just open the doors. And that's effectively what I've been doing. So I think I'm going to have a go at getting rid of these window frames. It'll save me some weight, and I think it's going to be a more practical solution. I want to put a single piece of Lexan over this whole thing made up with the door frame. Fortunately, this is all, the bend is here well below, so I should be able to get a flat piece on here and have it work. It's going to save me some weight, gets rid of these homemade window latches. I'll be retaining these. I'll take these out of this particular window, and this piece of plexiglass, and put it in the new one. Everything else is going to go. So the first thing I do is I got to get this off, and then we'll have a look. Okay, let's see how that fits. Oh yeah, I can see right to the right. See the whole thing. It used to be that much there and that blocked my eye. It's a lot better. I like that a lot better. Therein lies the problem. You can't see my eye, I can't see the camera. I have to bend down in order to see. And that's the problem. Very dangerous. So you see, with the window gone, I can see right without having to bend. As soon as I put that window frame back in, no longer see past the frame. I have to bend. So that's what we're going to fix by taking this out. Something to consider is that this is the ceiling face here, and this is the ceiling face here, and here, and here. And all that's okay because the face is the face. If I put the windshield in, this is actually in behind this material. At this point it doesn't matter. Trouble is it's very close to this, very close to the handle, but I can always cut that out around and let it hang down. I could even make the window, you even go so far as to make the window long enough and redo that entire rivet line and use those rivets. Leave the window a little bit short just above them and put in another set. 6 of one, half dozen of another. Hi folks, back here with the plane and showing you some of the things some of the decisions I've made on the door frame and the window and the new plexiglass installation, or actually Lexan. But if you can see here, I've left the fairing in the front and the fairing in the back. So the new sheet of Lexan is actually going to go on top of this metal, and it's going to go on top of these fairings and come forward here. And it doesn't have to overlap this entire sheet of metal. So this will retain a better seal point for me. And one of the other main reasons I did it is here at the front, with this piece off and just the glass, there's a gap between the steel frame and the aluminum door frame. When you got clear plexiglass on here, you see that gap. And that gap was left there so to allow for the hinge mechanism on the window was inside there. So that has to, I don't want that to show. So I'm covering it with this fairing and copying it at the back. So what I have to take into account now is I got a metal here and I got metal here, and I have no metal in the center. So what I decided to do, other things, I decided to bring the plexiglass all the way down below this rivet line. These were all aluminum pop rivets. I spent a lot of time with videos showing them being drilled out, which I don't think is really much benefit to you. So I've shown some of that, but skipped over a lot of it. But what I intend to do is, these are on 3-inch centers, and I think that's even overkill. So what I'm going to do is, in some of the places, I'm going to put a pop rivet in, a flush metal pop rivet, underneath the glass, in holding on the aluminum sheet only, and then the rest of them I will use a self-tapping sheet metal screw to go into the aluminum door frame. And I'm going to do the same up here. But because there's metal here and metal here, there's a slight difference in thickness here. So these pieces are about 25 thou. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run a piece of white tape down here. And I think 3-inch spacing on the Lexan install there is also probably more than I need. So I'm going to take an awl and I will punch out every second one of these and install the sheet metal screw through the plexiglass into the aluminum frame, and leaving every second one out. So we'll have a screw here, this will be blank. We'll have a screw here, this will be blank, screw, 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 and one in the corner, and that should be adequate. Something I did was I took an equivalent piece of glass to work and the old window frame. I made a measurement, and in fact I am saving approximately 2 pounds, 1 pound each per window. Something I'd like to point out is the fact that this sheet of Lexan here cracked right on that line and right there when I was cutting it. And I contacted a Lexan expert supposedly about that, and he said, well, they get old and they age or whatever. Asked me how old it was. I figured this Lexan's been in my garage home for 2 or 3 years now. But even still, Lexan is usually you can pound the hell out of it and it doesn't crack, break or anything. So it's not Lexan brand. This is Polycarbonate Sheet, made by somebody else. But I think my technique for cutting this was not the best, so I have figured out a better way, and I will show you in an upcoming video what I think is probably the best way for cutting these things, especially a long line like that, 36-inch cut. Something else I'd like to show you that I will miss after these windows are gone. One of the reasons I made them out of wood, I could have used other metal or aluminum frames as well, according to Wag, but I chose the wood because I sat in the basement for hours So over the winter many years ago, and I whittled out these set of stick grips. They were made out of oak, and those are made out of oak. So the window and the sticks were made to match, and was kind of a nice trim touch, I thought. But I'm doing this mainly for safety. I shouldn't have to be bending my neck all the time in order to see out the window. So that's why we decided to make it look the way it is. It is now almost a month since I started the project on the windows. Finally, my new sheet of 3 foot by 3 foot Lexan or polycarbonate finally came in. There's so many people using this stuff for personal protection barriers, retail outlets and restaurants, etc., that I guess it's has become a hot commodity. I still think I got overcharged for it. The price I paid was fair, but I certainly had to wait a long time to get it. So I've gone ahead and made this cut, spared the generator and saw noise. But the key to making these cuts is to support the material close to your cut line. So I've got 2x6 on either side, and you can see the clamp that's still there. And before I started, I had another clamp in here. So the original sheet couldn't move on me. Made the cut this way, and the most important thing is the blade you're using. So this is the best blade I have for the job. It's a plywood blade, and the blade turns this way, so the back of the teeth are going through the plastic. It's not cutting this way and ripping the plastic with the small teeth. Now I have heard that you can actually buy a plexiglass cutting blade for a circular saw, and you can apparently buy plexiglass blades for jigsaws. And it's the jigsaw that got me in trouble with the original piece. So I've actually flown this airplane a few times with this temporary installation I have here. My problem is I was getting a crack here. I've got a crack there. I've got a crack there. Those two cracks up there were from using the jigsaw and not the right blade. I had a well-worn wood cutting blade, and I tried to use it because I was unprepared and didn't have the right materials here at the time. Thankfully, I found that plywood blade and have switched to that. So that'll make all the cuts I need to do. It works beautifully. I'm actually really surprised at this cracking here. Those cracks, I'm not surprised. I know I used the wrong material for it. But the cracking around the screw holes here got me worried that if I go ahead and do this whole new installation with all these holes, I'm going to get into trouble. Now the reason I did it is because I've worked with plexiglass in the past and seen demonstrations of it being pounded with a hammer and doesn't crack at all. All it does is it gets marred, it damages, puts kind of a dent in it. You can no longer see through it, but it doesn't crack. So now I'm having to rethink what I should do, and a couple options is I could make fairing piece here and here and here, take out this door handle here, slide the pieces in from the bottom, or conversely, which is probably even better, still have to take the door handle off, but make a fairing here, here, and here, affixed to the door frame, and then bring the new sheet in this way, similar to the way those rear windows are done. It's hard to tell with this fairing in place, but when this fairing is taken out, you simply slide These are steel and they're welded to the fuselage. This window slides in that way. And there's nothing to stop me from doing the same on this window. I could slide the whole thing in. And I may end up doing that. I don't want to use steel though because it's heavier. I'm trying to save weight. So let's just cut a small piece out of this corner. See if we can drill it, see if we can pound it, see if we can abuse it. As it turns out I don't have my drill here. But I do have a hammer. This is going to be a hard test because that's not a very big piece. Well, let's see what we can do to it. Yeah. That's more like it. That's what I expect to see and be able to do with polycarbonate. You can really pound the piss out of this stuff, and it's pretty good. I can't. It'll bend, but it's not breaking. Here's another piece, and what I would expect from Lexan. You can take, bend that stuff, and double it right over on itself, and it doesn't break. Yeah, you'll damage it, but it didn't break. So, I do have confidence that my original installation method will most likely work. That hole allows for the door handle, and this hole's for the Vista Vent. That window, other than the holes to be drilled in it, is ready for install. One of the big differences is I used to look through when I was leaving the hangar. I'd look and see if I could see the window frame on the other side, and I knew if it was, could see it, it's closed. Now I have to look through and see this Vista vent over there. I have to be able to look through and see that it's in place. For the grand finale.